here has lived in 2 countries? Okay. Who here has lived in 3 countries? Good. Finally, who here has lived in 4 or more countries? Great. So, you've all experienced being a TCK a bit. It's that easy. Well, now you can relate to my speech a bit. Man, Dubai is such an international community. You could just imagine how many TCKs or adult TCKs there are here. Wow. But you might say, hey, what's this kid talking about? What is a TCK? So let's ask this question. Who is a TCK? A TCK, or third culture kid, is a kid like me who has spent most of their life outside of their parents' home culture. Well, why am I a TCK? I'm turning 12 in August, so I've lived 11 years of my life, basically my whole life, outside of my parents' home country, Italy. I've lived in 5 different cities and 3 different countries, including Milan, Italy, New York City, Las Vegas, San Francisco, USA, and finally, Dubai, UAE. Essentially, I'm a citizen of everywhere, and nowhere at the same time. All these places have one thing in common. I have left my heart in every single one, and all these places have left me lasting memories. As a TCK, I have had the privilege of traveling the world and experiencing many diverse places, becoming familiar with many different cultures and absorbing knowledge from each one of them. All of this has become a part of me. I like to think of myself as a tree, with roots trying to absorb nutrients from the soil, but they just float. They don't really belong anywhere. Essentially, all TCKs can be seen as floating trees, not having any fixed roots or relationships anywhere. TCKs are rootless, meaning they move quite often. All these moves for a TCK mean saying many farewells to friends and people whom you have come to know along the way. In fact, did you know that most TCKs say more goodbyes by the time they're 20 than monocultural people say in their whole life? Now that's a lot of goodbyes, isn't it? Saying so many goodbyes is a complicated process mentally that can result in grief or even anger. And it all starts when your parents come up to you and say the 3 words every TCK dreads. We are moving. Every time I hear those words, I feel overwhelmed, and that's when my reaction starts. Actually, for me, I don't really have a say in where we move or when. In my lifetime, I have come to understand that my dad has a job and that I'll eventually adjust with it, and that I know I have a family I can count on whenever I hear those dreaded, but also enlightening words. Whenever I know I'm about to move, I feel like a sailboat, stranded in the middle of the sea in a storm. I have no control of the boat, and I'm spinning furiously around in the storm, but I hope that I'll see the end of the storm, because I've seen this type of storm many times in the past, and I overcame it before, and that I'll always have the help of my crew, my family. When you move, a TCK has to say many goodbyes. If you ask me, I won't burst into tears or be very emotional about it. Showing my sadness or grief is not really the way I handle it personally. In fact, every TCK has their own way of keeping their true feelings unheard, trying to process their grief and anger inside mentally. As many studies have shown, there are a lot of ways of saying goodbye, but the 3 most common are refusing to care, refusing to show that you care about someone, quick release, quickly detaching from people around you, even much before you actually move, and finally, emotional flattening, when you refuse to feel any type of grief, or any emotion really. Whenever I know I'm about to move, I'm mostly of the emotional flattening kind, whereby I try to hide my emotions on the outside, but my real emotions remain unheard, just like so many other TCKs. As I recall, my last move to Dubai from San Francisco was very complicated for me. My dad simply said, "We're moving to Dubai." And as I said before, my reaction began at that very moment. In San Francisco, I developed probably the strongest friendships I've had in all my moves. So when I learned that we were moving in the next 5 months or so, I started to really ponder this subject. I was 8 years old at the time and was just now understanding why we were moving so often. So I just started acting really normal about it. I continued my perfunctory activities. When it was time to leave, Parsa, my friend, and his family came to the airport with us to say goodbye. I felt really sad inside, yet all I could do was hug my friend, wave goodbye from the security check, and leave with little reaction. After boarding that plane, I immediately felt regret. Regret for not having hugged him longer or thanking him for his true friendship. And although it was my way of saying goodbye, it still hurt me knowing that I'll only see my closest friend once a year. TCK presents many challenges, no matter what the age or where you're going. And I think all TCKs need to have a place to go to whenever they need help. Because if they don't have the support from someone that has experienced what they have, they're going to feel the way I felt when I was leaving the United States. That's why I created a blog named TCK United, where all TCKs can find a common place to go to whenever they need help. It's a safe and friendly place where TCKs can find common ground and share stories on how they quickly adapt and find new friends and get to know and blend with new cultures. I just talked about how TCKs are spread around the world and they have to say many goodbyes. So it can be hard to talk to one another, but I think TCK United can help. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like if I weren't a TCK. I mean, I wouldn't really know what a TCK is in the first place, but to put it in a nutshell, I would feel like I lost a unique and extraordinary experience. Yeah, you have to say many goodbyes, and it is hard, but that's only one side of the entire experience. I mean, it's totally worth it. All the different cultures, nations, places, and especially living in an international community like Dubai, it's amazing. So, since most of you are already TCKs or adult TCKs, I want you to ask yourselves the same question, and you'll see why it's so worth it. So, I'll leave you now with a quote by A.A. Milne that tells it all. How lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. Thank you for your time.